dwellers, and welcome to the basement. It's Wednesday, and we're up to episode 3 of the OA. So, again, one episode a day until we get to episode number 8 next Monday to completely finish the first season of the Netflix original series. And this episode was titled Champion. And now, I like this episode, but this was definitely a different kind of episode in comparison to the first two, because with the first two episodes we had a nice balance of sorts where we got everything was prairie, everything set in the modern day, seeing a lot of dual storylines going on, uh, where prairie's life story, how she grew up, where she went from point A to point B, etc., as well as her getting acclimated to uh, being back with the Johnsons again. This episode, while we had some stuff set in the quote unquote modern day, it's primarily set in the during her time at the Dr. Hap's compound, which meant we didn't get a lot of details about the Prairie's group of friends, or allies. Really not sure what to call them at this point. Are they friends? Are they group? Well, there is a reference that she's like built a family out of strange pieces. So I guess there's that, if you kind of consider it. Anyway, some of the details that we did learn about the group. Steve and French have known each other for a long time, at least since they were 12 years old. They fought before. Steve has always won, and he's kind of had this there was a clear status quo between them. They get into a fight in this episode, and French wins this one. And it seems that the vibe that came out of that was that while French is looking to move forward, get beyond where he started from, Steve is kind of stuck in place. And that seems to, at least that's the vibe I got coming out of that scene. We learned a little bit more about Miss Broderick Allen, that she lost her brother, doesn't seem to want to move on, deal with the issue of his estate and so forth. And I get the vibe that she definitely has no family left. So again, that's the vibe I am getting based on the details revealed in this episode. But she did stick her neck out and got Steve put into an alternate learning class. So, and he does go to it and ends up seeing a girl that's more off the wall than he is. So, probably gives himself some hope that maybe if he buckles down with this alternate way of learning, can get what he wants out of life. So, again, just going by the body language and how the scene came across, I could be totally wrong on this. Again, I just watched episode 3. So, let's talk about the stuff that happened at the Hap compound. And he has 4 captives. We obviously Prairie, Homer, the other 2 being Scott and Rachel. All of them have had NEDs, near-death experiences. There was a girl there before Prairie arrived named August, who, because of Hap's great work, ends up dead. And we actually see him bury her out in the middle of nowhere. What a nice guy that Dr. Hap is. One of the best aspects of this episode, and in this part of Prairie's story, is that we see her actually earn Hap's trust, ends up basically being his blind housekeeper, and but at the same time, it's her trying to turn a situation around. Prairie is very, very clever, and she comes up with a way to incapacitate him. Get some sleeping pills, put it in the food, maybe knock him out that way. Though she ends up nearly killing him because not knowing of his tomato allergy, but that's neither here nor there. And she also, so when realizing certain situations and when she comes across August's body in a bathtub, remembers a plan that Homer presented to her. Just like, get his ring that he hid up in the bathroom, get a bill, we can maybe somehow get a letter, since you're his housekeeper now, we can get this letter, a distress signal, get some help or something or other. Granted, it backfires through no fault of anyone's own, but it's again, it goes to show that Prairie's mind is constantly moving, constantly working. She may not be able to see, but she can figure things out and will take advantage of any situation that comes across her way. She is indeed a survivor. You can basically trace this back to the scenes that were set with her days within the character's youth when she was known as Nina in Russia, with how her father raised her. How do you beat the cold? You be colder than the cold. You outwork it, you outthink it, and sooner or later you're going to come out on top. Now, in terms of the personalities of the other three Prairie's fellow captives, we learn a lot about Homer. Well, we get to know Homer a bit. The star QB, he has a son. He that's kind of sprung on him. He wanted to do right by the kid. He knows he did this thing with Dr. Hap being paid to help him with the NED research, and because again he wanted to provide for his son, didn't want to be a deadbeat dad, but because of Dr. Hap, he probably now has this reputation. Um, and it's what's motivated him to come up with the plan, is seeing that Prairie's being Hap's housekeeper. Hey, I hit something upstairs. We can get out of here. We work together and so forth. Now, with all that being said, he does come across a bit dull. Then again, he is a quarterback, so that's probably intentional. Scott, how can I put this? He seems like the type of dude you see hanging out on his front porch with a joint and a cup of coffee in the morning. It's like he's a total dude. Uh, there's really nothing else to him from what I saw. Now, I'm assuming that we get to learn more about him as the episodes progress, but I'm still kind of waiting to learn something about Jesse, who we have yet to really know more about, even though we actually heard him speak in this episode. Rachel, the fourth member of this unique quartet, has an interesting backstory in her own way. Comes from a bit of a broken town, not so much a broken home. She could sing, and she was told that she should do something with it. Figured, why the hell not? She'll take a little brother, get out of the hellhole town, go down to Nashville, try to make it as a singer, and was in an automobile, some sort of accident. It's not quite clear if her brother died or not. There was reference to a wheelchair, so he probably survived the crash. But she died and came back, and her voice changed. And hear her sing, and she got a great singing voice. If that's the actress singing it, kudos. If they got a professional to do the dubbing over it, also kudos. I like the vocal harmonies coming out of Rachel, out of the character's mouth, regardless. The ending of this episode, again, relates back to what I said just a few minutes ago, about Prairie being quite clever. Um, Knowing the layout of Hap's place after being there for quite a while, she shoves him down a flight of stairs. And she hesitates about, maybe going down, regretting what she did, or trying to get the others out. And we hear to say, yo, Prairie, run! Run, bitch! Run! So, and she does. Granted, she's blind in the middle of freaking nowhere and ends up on the edge of a cliff, where the last thing we see in this episode is her getting whacked upside the head with the butt of a rifle. So, yeah, that's the episode basically stops there. Kind of makes you wonder what happens next. Obviously, we know whatever happens, Prairie gets out of it, but what happens next? And I'm assuming this will, of course, it will be covered in episode 4, which of course we'll go over tomorrow night. Now, there was something in this episode that did straight up piss me right the hell off. And that's Nancy Johnson. I'm well-meaning, and I'm gonna put in quotation marks here, as it relates to Prairie's welfare. And she got easily swayed by the fame seeking writer looking for another bestseller to take advantage of another return from being abducted story. And I will say this, the reporter, a writer, what have you, was right in in saying that telling a story is a good way to exercise it, the situation from it being a heavy burden on you. But here's the thing: as viewers know, Prairie's story is just beginning. She's nowhere near the end. Um, so it so it definitely puts a unique spin on things, because the author is interested. Oh, you were taken. What's happened all this time, and now you're back home. Everything's happy. The end. And with Prairie, it doesn't quite work that way. Sorry, sorry. Try to steal someone else's life story. Get yourself another Pulitzer, lady. Anyway, and what seems to be a trend with me with the Netflix shows, because um, standout performance in this episode, and since it's basically a large part of it revolving around Marling as Prairie in terms of body positioning and navigation, and really selling the fact that her character is indeed blind, we actually can end up believe that with a little, probably initial help and getting used to the surroundings and everything being in its proper place, that Prairie can get around Hap's house without any help at all, without any consideration or anything other, that she can be left to her own devices. And I sound like a total ass saying that, because I know a lot of blind folks that can do that themselves, but I'm thinking under a situation of duress. And so this is a credit to Britt Marling's ability as an actor to sell this to the viewer, to make it make it totally believable, that you can lose yourself watching it, and without thinking, she can really see. No, she does everything to sell the fact that the character can't see, and for me, that was a pretty damn remarkable performance there. And this is a bit selfish, but as a Star Trek fan, it was great to see Rosalind Cho pop up as the author, writer, that convinced Nancy that hey, it's a good idea. Let me write a book about Prairie. Uh, I know she's done a lot since Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but Rosalind Cho will always still be Keiko O'Brien to me. So there you go. And on that note, we'll wrap things up here. We'll come back tomorrow, obviously, to talk about episode 4. And after I get this video uploaded onto YouTube, it's off to Mysterious Tokyo with episode 15, if I remember right, of Blue Seed, as we're beginning the third disc on this DVD set, listed as Prelude to Sacrifice. So again, we're in the second half of the series. And of course, we'll be kicking that off a little bit later tonight. So till then, my friends, and you are my friends, leave your thoughts about episode 3 of The OA down in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter. I do got a Patreon, patreon.com/FredCasden if you want to kick me a few bucks. And I do got some things there that you might be of interest to you. You can tell me what to review, tell me what to watch, and so forth. So check that out. And we'll catch you a little later, folks.